ஏனமாய் அங்குகின்ற என் அப்பனே கண்ணா, என்னும் என்னை ஆளுடைய வாரணாயகமே மணிமாணிக்கச் சுடரே, ஏனமாம்புரி பொன் திரூபவனம் வளர்த்தவர் கைதொடவுரை வாரணாமலையே அடியேன் குழவந்தருளே. ஆரணத்து நின் பாதமே சரணாகக் கொண்டுவிந்தாய், உனக்கோர் கைமாறு நாமன்னிலேன் எனதாவி உனதே. பேருகள் கரும்பும் பெரும் சென்னலும் மனிதன் சீவரணங்கை நாறுபும் தந்துவாய் முடியாய் தெய்வநாயகமே. வரமங்கே சுபோத்துங்கே வரப்பங்கேருகே பதப்பங்கேருகே நித்யம் அவகுஞ்சம் புஷ்பமாம் நாதஸ்ரீவரணங்கே மதுவிபுவாஞ்சித மனோகராபாங்கே மங்களவதன சசாங்கே மானவ விதுல்லபாசமானாங்கே. வந்தேகம் வனநாவினம் சரசிஜாசர்வம் சகாசேவிதம் சேனாதீக தினேஷ சந்திரவிஹசாதீகே ஸ்வபாசேவிதம் பஞ்சச்சாமரசன்யசா பிரதிமுகம் தத்ராதிபூஷான்விதம் மார்க்கண்டேய முனீந்திரவந்திதம் யத்சுமாபுர்நிவாசத்ரியம் நவமி ஸ்ரீசுரவாசம் அம்புதృశம் பத்மாமணீசேவிதம் ஓதாலோச்சன கோமலோத்பல விபும் ஸ்ரீதாங்கிரி பங்கேருகம் வானத்துமாதர வாபிசேகரசுகம் ஸ்ரீநாதமே தீட்சிதம் மாத்ரா ஸ்ரீபவனம் त्वया விலசிதம் ஸ்வார்த்தம் பதத்வேஷினா.
मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु कश्चिद् यतति सिद्धये, यततामपि सिद्धानां कश्चिन् मां वेत्ति तत्त्वतः, says Lord Krishna. To attain a human birth is rare. Rarer is attaining liberation in one human birth itself. To uplift one and all, the Supreme Lord, out of his boundless compassion, presents himself in many forms in cities, towns and villages. 8 of them are held in high regard owing to the Lord's emanation by himself without any external assistance. Pushkar, Naimisharanya, Muktinath, Badrinath, Tirumala, Sri Mushnam, Sri Rangam and Vanamamalai, which is our subject of discussion today. The otherwise sleepy town of Nanguneri is home to one of the holiest shrines of the Lord Sriman Narayana, who graces the population as Vanamamalai Perumal or Totadrinathan. Totadri derives its name from the root Tutati, which means to destroy, as the Lord here destroys the hurdles in one's path to attain liberation. This place, once a forest of mango trees serving as the ashrama of eminent sages like Romasha, Bhrigu, Markandeya, Maunjayana, Narada, Angirasa and Vikanasa, now serves as the hermitage of Vanamamalai Ramanuja Jeeyar, who was nominated by Manavala Mamunigal, the incarnation of Adishesha and the reincarnation of Bhagavad Ramanujacharya, to serve the Lord and maintain the sanctity of this temple. The Jeeyar runs the temple and the Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam as a whole from the Vanamamalai Mutt, whose headquarters is situated at Nanguneri. With 31 pontiffs decorating the Acharya Peetham for around 600 years, the Mutt, throughout its history, has involved itself in the selfless service of Vanamamalai Perumal and the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. The Mutt is to the left as we enter into the temple premises and stand facing the Rajagopuram. The Rajagopuram of the temple is 5-storied and is constructed in the Dravidian style of architecture. This Gopuram is the tallest standing structure in the temple and bears great significance as the 4th Jeeyar of the Vanamamalai Mutt, commissioned eminent artisans to build this magnificent and imposing structure. As we enter into the temple compound through the Rajagopuram, to our left is the Tirunandavanam, the pleasure garden, where the Utsava Murti of this temple, Daivanayaka Perumal, accompanied by his consort Srivaramangai Nachiyar, enjoys many festive occasions. The central portion of the outer corridor of the temple is occupied by the Sevandi Mandapam, where the Lord takes his ritualistic bath on the Panchaparvas and holds court at other important occasions like the flag hoisting ceremony observed at the beginning of every major Utsavam. The temple has spacious corridors reminiscent of the hoary past of this temple. It is said that a local ruler, Kari, desiring a child, was directed by the Lord to the banks of the Kshetra lake to dig out his self-manifest deities from beneath the ground. As the king struck the ground to reveal the Lord's idol, the crowbar struck the Lord's forehead and blood began to ooze. The king begged for the Lord's compassion, and the Lord suggested the daily anointing of gingerly oil mixed with 21 herbs on his idol to quell the king's guilt and attest the king's innocence. Thus, the old tradition of anointing the Lord with gingerly oil, started by a leper who was a miser in his previous birth as an atonement for his sins, was reinstated by the king. Just like how the leper got his sins absolved and attained the highest good, the king Kari was blessed with a son by the grace of the Lord, who would go on to become Nammazhwar, the best among poet saints. The tale of Nanguneri is as old as time itself. It is said that Brahma, having lost the Vedas to the demons Madhu and Kaitabha, eulogized the Lord to retrieve the Vedas, and the Lord destroyed the two demons and expounded all of the Vedic knowledge to Brahma. The destruction of the demons led to their blood and fat contaminating the earth, and Bhumi Devi underwent a great penance on the banks of the Kshetra lake so that the earth would be rid of the contamination. Pleased with her austerity, the Supreme Lord manifested as Vanamamalai Perumal and rendered the earth pure once again. Once King Gunashila, the son of Nala, entered into the precincts of this ancient mango forest as he was on a hunting expedition and came across the hermitage of sage Kushasana. Plagued by hunger and thirst, the king feasted on the food meant for the sage while the sage was away. Sage Kushasana, coming to know about the king's misdeed, cursed him to become a dog for his stealthy act of eating from a person's plate while the person was away was that of a dog. The king repented for his wrongdoing, and the sage told him that his curse would be lifted upon him encountering a supremely sacred pilgrimage site. The king was born as a dog in due course and was adopted by a nomadic juggler who used the dog to entertain people and make money. Their journey across towns and villages brought them to the banks of Kshetra, and the juggler, knowing the greatness of this lake, took a dip in it with his dog. To everyone's astonishment, the dog was transformed into a king, signaling the king's curse being lifted. The king performed many acts of service and finally achieved emancipation. Urvashi, the divine damsel who sprung from the thigh of sage Narayana, an incarnation of the Supreme Lord, was jealous of Tilottama, another damsel who was created by Brahma, owing to her greatness derived from the destruction of the demon brothers Sunda and Upasunda, both of whom wanted to be Tilottama's spouse, leading to a scuffle that ended in their mutual killing. Tilottama, desirous of serving the Lord, resorted to the banks of the sacred Tamarai and engaged in austerity. This shattered Urvashi's pride, and she joined Tilottama in her austerity. The Lord, pleased by their penance, blessed them to accompany him at Totadri, today's Vanamamalai, fanning him till eternity. To this day, we can see Urvashi and Tilottama fanning the Lord inside the Sanctum Sanctorum. As we circumambulate the outer corridor, we come across the Ennai Kinaru, or the oil well, where the remnants of the oil extracted from the Lord's divine form are stored in a big well. This oil contains 21 herbs and is purported to cure even the most severe diseases. Vanamamalai too has seen its fair share of technological advancements. A motor has been installed that extracts oil from the remnants of the Abhishekam coming from the Sanctum Sanctorum. The oil is pushed to this well, while the organic remnants like flowers and milk are converted into manure. We now come across the Dhvajastambam and the Balipitham. The flagstaff, gilded in gold, was first installed by the 5th Jeeyar of the Vanamamalai Mutt and has been repaired and restored to its former glory by the current Swami, the 31st Jeeyar of the Mutt. We now enter into the second precinct of the temple through the Siriya Gopuram. The second precinct, also known as the Kulashekhara Prakaram, contains the shrines of Tirkanachiyar and Vadakanachiyar among many other shrines. As we enter the Prakaram, to our left is the Kannadiyarai, the mirror chamber, where the Lord graces the devout as a part of many important Utsavams. As we circumambulate, we come across the mortar stone upon which sandalwood is ground. The Prakaram now leads us to the shrine of Srivaramanga also known as Tirkanachiyar, in whose name the Divya Desam is named Srivaramangala. The anecdote of how Thayar reached this place is fascinating. Once, Manavala Mamunigal and his Antaranga Shishya Ponnadikkal Jeeyar were at Tirumala right before the start of the annual Purattasi Brahmotsavam. During a few last-minute repairs by the temple authorities, a beautiful metallic idol of goddess Sri Mahalakshmi was unearthed. The temple authorities wanted to make this deity the consort of Lord Srinivasa of Tirumala, but the Lord had other plans. The goddess appeared in the dream of the temple authorities and introduced herself as Srivaramanga, the divine consort of Devanayaka Perumal of Nanguneri, and asked the temple authorities to send her off with Ponnadikkal Jeeyar. At the same time, the goddess appeared in Ponnadikkal Jeeyar's dream, called him her father, and asked him to receive her the next morning. The next morning, the elated temple authorities sent her off with an ecstatic Ponnadikkal Jeeyar, who hurried to Nanguneri with his Acharyan Manavala Mamunigal and conducted the ritualistic nuptials, making her the consort of Devanayaka Perumal. An overjoyed Devanayaka Perumal called him Vanamamalai Jeeyar and gave all control of the temple to him. To this day, the Lord and his consort visit the Mutt on 3 occasions: on the 9th day of the Chittirai Brahmotsavam, on Kanya Punarvasu, the day of Ponnadikkal Jeeyar's incarnation, and on the day of Kanuppandigai, as it is customary for married women of any Tamil household to visit their parents on that day from her in-laws. The divine couple receive a red carpet welcome, the carpet being the upper garments of the current Jeeyar, and the divine image of Ponnadikkal Jeeyar, the first Jeeyar of the Vanamamalai Mutt, is brought out of the Mutt's central shrine and is held facing the Lord and his consort, as it is Ponnadikkal Jeeyar himself receiving his daughter and son-in-law in the form of the current Jeeyar. The Sthalavraksham of this temple is a mango tree. Nammazhwar, in his Mangalashasanams to this Divya Desam, invokes the Lord, saying, Thenamam Puril Tan Sherivara Mangalattavar Kaithola Urai, Vanamamalaye, Adiyen Thola Vantarule, acknowledging the abundance of mango trees in this area. As Nammazhwar performed Sharanagati to Vanamamalai Perumal, his figure is embossed on the Sri Shatakopam of Devanayaka Perumal. There is no separate shrine for Nammazhwar at Nanguneri. We now proceed to the shrine of Andal, also known as Vadakkanachiyar, whose Vimanam and the Mukhamandapam were constructed by the 4th Jeeyar of the Vanamamalai Mutt. It is in this mandapam that the Lord graces the audience on the 10 days of the Rapathu Utsavam, while he holds court at the Mukhamandapam of Srivaramanganachiyar for the 10 days of the Pagalpattu Utsavam. To our left is the Vaikuntha Dwaram, which is opened once a year on the occasion of Vaikuntha Ekadashi, signalling the beginning of the Rapathu Utsavam. In front of us is the temple well, where the ground is always inundated owing to the temple itself being constructed upon the sacred Thamarai lake. The entire Moolasthanam, the first and the second prakarams will be flooded in monsoons due to the presence of underground springs which feed the sacred Thamarai. We now alight into the inner prakaram, where 33 sages are present, engrossed in deep meditation. Therefore, none except the Jeeyar and a few Antaranga Shishyas step inside. It is here that the Supreme Lord as Vanamamalai Perumal graces us seated atop Adisesha under the Vaikuntha Vimanam, flanked by Sridevi and Bhudevi, Urvashi, Tilottama, Surya, Chandra, Bhrigu, Markandeya, Garuda and Vishvaksena, all of them being self-manifest. As we step outside, we are greeted by the Unjal Mandapam, where the Lord graces the devout, seated atop a swing with his consort on various occasions, including Panguni Uttiram, the day of Srivaramanganachiyar's incarnation. The pillars of the mandapam contain sculptures of the presiding deities of various Divya Desams. As we step out of the second prakaram through the Siriya Gopuram, to our right is the shrine of Venugopala and Manavala Mamunigal. The shrine of Manavala Mamunigal is of great significance, especially at Vanamamalai, as it is his foremost Shishya Ponnadikkal Jeeyar's monastic successors who are in charge of the temple affairs. Ponnadikkal Jeeyar is hailed as Ramyajamatra Yogindra Padarekha Maya, which means he is the lines in the soles of Manavala Mamunigal's lotus feet. Manavala Mamunigal calls Ponnadikkal Jeeyar his Prana Suhrit, a well-wisher who is as good as his soul, just like how Lord Krishna says, Jnani Tvatmaiva Me Matham. The Jnanis are as good as the Lord's soul. As we exit through the Rajagopura, to our left is a small passage that leads us to the ocean-like Kshetra lake. Nammazhwar hails this divine lake saying, Kshetra Sennalodu Malar Shrivaramangala, implying that Kshetra is abound with lotuses and its waters feed paddy fields. As we had seen earlier, the temple rests on a part of Kshetra whose waters can still be seen inundating various spots inside the temple. As we set foot out of the temple premises, we are left with our hearts longing for another visit to Vanamamalai Divya Desam, which is genuinely Vaikuntham, best preserved in its pristine form.
Shri Bhumi Goda Devi Bhi Sakam Shri Varamangaya Divya Simhasanasthaya Devanadhaya Mangalam Shri Bhumi Goda Devi Bhi Sakam Shri Varamangaya Divya Simhasanasthaya Devanadhaya Mangalam